Hello. These are my revamps of the LEGO Hero Factory Brain Attack Heroes, and today I'm going to show them off next to their original set counterparts. And we're going to start off with Stormer. So the first thing I decided to do was swap out the retractable blasters for full-on shoulder cannons with actual articulation, so you can aim them at things that are not just right in front of them. I decided to swap the shield on the original for one of the 2.0 ice blasters, and I decided to add another one of those ice pieces, just make him look like he has a little more firepower. I decided to swap out the fairly unimpressive and small sword on the original with the Kopaka Master Sword with a little bit of extra greebling to make it look a little bigger and look a little more, I guess, impressive. And finally, I decided to swap the visor out for one of the ones that didn't have printing, just because I thought the printing looked a little messy, and I definitely like the way it looks without the printing more. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Stormer. And next up we have Furno XL. So, while not a perfect figure, I do firmly believe that Furno XL is one of Hero Factory's best sets. He definitely is the best XL set by miles, but he is still fairly flawed. I decided to get rid of the custom torso elements on mine because they just weren't really that necessary. I decided to discard all the gunmetal on the figure with the exception of the shield and make sure the color scheme is just the red, silver, and trans red, with a little bit of dark yellow sprinkled in. I decided to slim down the leg armor compared to the original, and I think it looks a little better than the standard torso armor that LEGO used. Probably the biggest issue that the original had was the fact that it only had one hand, so I decided to rectify this and keep the shield design similar. It has a very similar construction, but now he actually holds it with a ball joint instead of just it being his hand. And I decided to add extra fire because why not? The sword got slimmed down and simplified. There's nothing really wrong with the original sword, but I feel like it's just kind of a clashing aesthetic if I were to try to use the original on mine. I decided to swap out the cape for one of the CCBS Star Wars capes. In brown. I believe this was exclusive to the Obi-Wan figure, but I'm not entirely sure. And you can see the frictionator I used on his neck to help raise his head. And you can also see kind of the construction of the figure. It's using the basic CCBS build, and now you can kind of see how I hold that cape in place. And a neat little bonus with the cape is that they kind of give the illusion that the shoulders are broader than they actually are, so the figure doesn't look so slim and skinny, because this is what it looked like without the cape. And next up we have Bulk. So the biggest issue I have with the original figure is that he is incredibly slim and skinny. I mean, he is called Bulk, and he is one of the skinniest figures in the wave, so I decided to add bigger pieces of armor pretty much everywhere I could. And now he looks like his name is Bulk. The figure's not the only thing that needs some bulking up, because the drill is very skinny and weak looking. So I decided to give mine a more complex construction with some Technic lift arms and some gears, just kind of bulk out the drill piece a bit. I added extra flickfire missiles and a laser sight as well. The shield pretty much stayed the same, except I swapped out the blue pin out for a gray one just so it doesn't stick out in the color scheme so much. Another issue I have with the original is just its sheer lack of the color silver for its silver character. The set has 9 silver pieces, 4 of which being the clamps on his core. So I decided I would use more silver parts, and as a neat little bonus, I decided to go ahead and cover up his back because the back on the original does not look good at all. And man, I wish LEGO released this headpiece in red because none of the official colors released really work for this figure, but nothing really more I can do, and that's pretty much all I have to say about Bulk. And next up we have Breeze. So I think the original is a pretty good set, and probably the best Breeze set in the entire series. I decided to swap the bow staff out for a scythe for pretty much no other reason than I had the parts lying around and I thought it looked cool. I decided to swap out this singular shoulder pad for something much bigger that came off of a Bionicle set. I believe it's one of the Baraki, but I'm not entirely sure. But instead of just guarding her shoulder, it guards her entire arm, so I think that's kind of a cool looking improvement. The saw blade shield isn't much different. All I really did was just add another piece on top to give it a little extra texture, but I did maintain the ability to take it off and put it on her back because it wasn't really that hard to do. And now you can see how much I decided to bulk up the legs, and I'm pretty happy with the way they turned out. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for Breeze. And next up is Surge. So the original is a pretty good looking set. It's got some good colors, it's got good proportions, it's got a good amount of bulk, but this is a flying character, so I decided to completely slim mine down. And while I was at it, I got rid of most of the silver because silver is kind of an oversaturated color amongst the Brain Attack collection. The jetpack on the original is pretty cool. The retractable wings are nice. My only issue is that the wings have these gaps in them that don't really make them look like wings. Meanwhile, LEGO literally went and re-released these parts with Jet Raka, and I added a thruster on the bottom of the piece instead of just the lightsaber pieces that the original has. I do like the weapon on the original, even though it is just a rehash of Pyrox's weapon from the wave prior. It still works just fine for Surge. I decided to swap the weapon with the Gresh Star's blades and then adding a piece of lightning to the front, which I think gives it a very similar look, and I'm pretty happy with the way that they look here. Next up we have Evo. So something that I have been consistently complaining about Evo ever since Breakout was the fact that they swapped his signature purple that made people really like the figure out for different colors. In this case it's blue, but for Breakout and Invasion from Below it's red, so obviously I swapped the blue out for transparent purple, which I think turns out very good looking. I swapped the visor out for the Furno visor, and I swapped the head out for a blue head, which they probably should have done with the original, because it was blue anyway, but they went with green. The weapon is pretty much unchanged. The staff part uses a shorter axle, but the actual weapon part is functionally exactly the same. And you can even still store the weapon on his back, even though in this clip I'm doing it upside down, and the weapon's too long for him to actually stand up if you do it like that, so whoops. And finally, I decided to add some of the scuba gear from Breakout Furno in yellow, just to kind of give the idea that he is specifically suited up to fight underwater. Because apart from the blue, if you look at the original out of context, he doesn't look like that at all. But anyway, that's it for Evo. And finally, we have Raka. This is probably the most simple revamp of this collection. So yeah, one of the most noticeable things I did was completely bulk the figure up. I decided to go with a symmetric design for the shoulders, and I think they look pretty good. I decided to swap the cork lamp color out with green to kind of add more green into the figure, make it not stand out as much. A big problem that the original figure had just due to the mold of the helmet was that the neck looked really skinny, and it's kind of not a big deal if you put something on the back, but the original figure does not have that, and it looks really weird. And for the weapons, I decided to just give him two of those swords because they're really cool looking pieces. And I already gave the spinning shield to my breakout Raka. So yeah, if you're that one guy that was disappointed that my breakout Raka didn't have the swords, here you go. But anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, a comment down below, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Check out the Discord and subreddit, and I will see you in the next one.